Hey everyone, welcome to Laurie's Stories. This is a podcast that my daughter Luanne and I are starting because we just felt inspired to, and we're going to talk about family and faith and food and fitness and all the things, because I truly believe that it is all intertwined. We are triune beings, so one part of our health affects another part of our health, and it's all tied together. So we're going to be talking about faith and family and food. Did I already say that? And fitness.
I don't think so.
And even
Just say it
fitness.
again.
Because we are both also very passionate about fitness and being as healthy as we
Healthy
can.
living.
Yes, healthy living in every aspect. Not just about one part of our lives, but every part of our lives. Because it's so
Not
intertwined.
just about how you look, about how you feel.
Yeah. And how you feel is often how you look, and how you look is how you feel, and how you feel is how you act.
We're going to dive into it all. Well, introduce yourself.
Yes.
You are our host.
Yes, I am your host, Laurie, and this is my...
I'm your co-host, Luanne,
Yes.
her daughter. And that is what we're bringing to the table. Hopefully, through Laurie's Stories episodes, you'll hear stories about my mom's life and hopefully a little bit of guidance and wisdom along the way. I am Luanne. I am her daughter, and I am kind of going to be in and out of these episodes as a co-host, as a behind-the-scenes kind of inspiration person, but I'm also the person that puts this all together and puts it out for you monthly. So I'll be very much involved, even if I'm not always in front of the camera, but Laurie here is the star of the show. That's why it's called Laurie's Stories. So we're super excited to get this podcast up and running. Today we're just going to do a quick Q&A, a little get to know your hosts, and then soon you'll hear more in a full-length episode from us. But for today, we're just going to give you just a brief little snapshot of what you can expect from Laurie's Stories in the future. So do you want to take it away with the first question?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first question that I have for Luanne, because a couple months ago when I came up with this wild idea of starting a podcast, and I had been thinking about this for a long time. But always, sometimes you have those dreams and they seem so far out, you just kind of don't even tell anybody. But that particular day, I told my daughters, I have twin daughters, by the way, and Luanne she right away was just kind of jumped on board, and I'm so grateful for that, because none of this would have happened without her. Like, she is my technical person. She figures it out. I'm so grateful to have her on. And so, Luanne, the first question I have for you is, what makes you willing to start a podcast with me, your mom?
Well, you know how today we were talking about the power tools and how I just wish that I could be taught power tools, but I don't have the budget, and it's just not right in this time of life. Well, I think it has to do with that, because you wanted to have access to a podcast. You wanted to be able to host a podcast. That was a dream of yours. And I knew that I could probably figure that out pretty easily. And well, not necessarily easily, but I could probably figure that out, and we could definitely make it a reality. So I was like, it's not necessarily my dream right now, but it's intriguing to me. I like figuring things out. So if it's I just thought if it was something that was important to her and I knew how to do it, like, I would just love it if someone taught me how to use power tools. So that was my way of teaching you how to start a podcast. And I feel like once you're up and running, it's you can take it from there. So I don't know if that answers it, but I just feel like sometimes you have to help each other with your dreams and help each other get there. Yeah, I just sometimes just help each other out.
That's so awesome. Thank you for helping me, because I'm telling you, this tangle of mics and cords and all the things looked hopeless to me, and I know it did to you too at one time. But
tell them I had her order pretty much all the wrong equipment. One time we had to send it all back, and then we got all this equipment, and I was like, she was like, how's it going? And I said, it's going horrible. I don't know what I'm doing.
A couple times you said, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this. And I would just walk away and smile, because I knew she does never give up.
And then she'd come back 2 hours later. Like, oh,
she had it figured out.
Was doing it all wrong, but it's fine.
Yeah. So kudos to Luanne. She got this thing up and running. So she is the brains behind this. And I want to, in the future, I will do a full interview with her about her experience of coming out of the Amish. How was that for you? So you can be thinking about that for future episodes. But for right now, Lou, because this is like a get to know you, tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do currently.
Okay. I'm 24 years old, and I am married, and I have a daughter who's going to turn 1 in like 3 days.
Cutest baby.
Yes.
Ever.
Love her so much. So she's going to be turning 1. We're going to have a birthday party this weekend. But anyway, I stay at home. I'm blessed to just be a stay-at-home mom. My husband has 2 businesses. So I stay home, and I've always wanted to do that ever since I was a child.
You always knew that.
Yeah, I always knew I was the like little kid at church being like, "Can I hold your baby?"
Yeah.
And then I just loved it. So love kids. Now I have my own. So that's, if you ask me what I would do in the next 20 years, is just raise my kids, and then we'll see from there. Hopefully I'll get a hobby after that. But yeah, that's what I do right now. I'm a mom, and I do love working out and being outside and going on bike rides. I love to build things, even though I don't know how. It's clearly that's something.
Anybody out there that can help her?
Can somebody teach me how to DIY all of the things? I would love to know. That's a hobby of mine that I don't know how to do. I love working with my hands and just being active. I also just love creativity and stuff like this. I love content creation. So this is kind of just a way for me to like edit videos and stuff, even though if they're not necessarily so not necessarily mine, but they are in a way. So this is a way for me to do more hobbies. I think that about covers it briefly for me right now.
And we will, you'll share more later, but she does have a degree also from college.
Yeah, I did go to college. Human Services, which is the 2-year degree for social work, but it's not a full social work degree.
Which again, she chose that because of children, and Luanne has very much a gift with children. She always has had. So it makes perfect sense to me that she's choosing to be a stay-at-home mom, which to me, that's so special to see my daughter choose that, because me, born and raised an Amish woman, I was home with our 6 kids, and I do not regret that for a second. But neither do I think there's anything wrong with any, if
it's
somebody
nice when you have the choice.
Yes, it's beautiful.
I get
awesome.
to choose to stay
yes,
home.
yes, it's so nice when you have a choice. Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
I guess I'm also going to ask, what made you want to start a podcast?
Well, like I said earlier, I love to talk.
She does.
I love to talk, but even more than that, I love to process with people, which I do. I do some of that in this very office here because I'm a certified counselor, so I do process with people a lot, and I just love it. It's like, I don't know, it makes me kind of come alive. So I thought, well, if I start a podcast, I could just interview people, basically interview people and hear their stories. I love to hear people's stories, and then just some of the hard knocks, that I've had in my life coming out of the only culture that we ever knew. I always thought along the way, man, if I can just pass this on somehow, if I can somehow help others maybe not have to hurt as bad or go through some of the same dumb things, whatever you want to call it, make the same mistakes, that would just make it all worth it. So I have a heart for people. I have a heart for my culture. I always have had, I always will have, especially for the women of my culture, but any women in general are, I just love how we all have so much potential inside of us and we don't always realize it. I didn't realize it for years, the potential that I had, until people started reaching in and helping me pull that out. So I think that's what I want to do. I want to help, especially women, unlock the potential that is already inside of them. Mm-hmm. It's there. It just needs to maybe be encouraged and pulled out a little bit. So a year ago, I think it was just about a year ago, I published my first book. Then I started dreaming again. Okay, what's the next step? And I knew it was a podcast. I knew it was. And so now here we are a year later and we're launching the podcast. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that we can do whatever we set our minds to, but we can't do everything at once. Mm-hmm. But if we know the season we're in and we take baby steps towards those big goals, we can accomplish anything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, here we are doing it.
Even power tools. Who knows?
That seems daunting.
Okay. Next question is, give me a brief summary of your upbringing into adulthood.
Okay. Well, obviously, my mom was born and raised Amish, so I was born into the Amish until I think I was like 3. We were living in an Amish community, and then our family decided to leave the Amish, so we moved far away from that community into like a Mennonite community, which is kind of like a transition between Amish and English, as they would call us. And so my upbringing was just a lot of change and transition between like Amish traditions and customs to then English dress and customs and slang. And it was interesting to grow up with 6 siblings in that transition, because my eldest brother would have a totally different child story. What is child story?
Childhood story.
Childhood.
Than you would.
Childhood than I would. And our eldest brother to our youngest brother would have completely opposite childhoods. So that's been just a really interesting dynamic, how we all grew up. Because our oldest brother went to all Amish school, only went to 8th grade, and then our youngest brother went to English school or public school his entire life and graduated high school and went to college. So just completely different upbringings there. But I think that's what has brought our family so close to this day. So I guess my personal was just a couple of different schools through elementary school as we were transitioning out of the Amish, was like Mennonite school, private school, homeschool, and then public school. And then once we hit public school, then we were like officially kind of like pretty normal, pretty English.
We were pretty much completely out of the Amish then.
So then we just stuck with public school until I graduated high school. And so people would meet me and they would have absolutely no clue I was Amish ever, but it's because I did leave when I was 3, and then I went to my first public school in 4th grade. So I was pretty accustomed by that time. But yeah, just it was an interesting life, but I wouldn't change it. And then I graduated and I went to college and I met my husband there. I met him the first day I ever went to college. Like, how lucky could you get? Met him the first day ever, and we were just loved each other ever since. And now we've been married for almost 3 years, together for about 5. So yeah, that is my brief story. But we'll dive into all the details.
Yes, we will.
Further episodes of one of Laurie's stories.
And if we would have never left the Amish, you would have never met your amazing husband.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you look back and you see how the details of our stories was being written even way back, when you were a little 3-year-old girl coming out of the Amish, who knew that you were being prepared?
I'm glad you guys left.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think
life.
I think all the kids are now, but I know it was very difficult at times.
It was just an interesting transition, in it, because just the tiniest details. I didn't know what a high five was, which that's kind of on you guys. You guys should have taught me.
Because Lila knows what a high five is.
Lila is not even 1 year old.
Yeah.
And so you guys could have taught us that. But so I was in dance class because our mom just threw us into all these extracurriculars.
Yeah, it was I wanted
to culture us.
Yes,
which is fair.
I wanted everything for you guys that I never had.
Yeah,
right?
So it was cool. We got to do piano lessons and softball. But this embarrassing stories I have because I had no idea what I was doing.
Well, you saved those. We want all the stories. Then.
We'll have to go into those. Oh my gosh, I have such.
You do have some funny stories, and you're gonna have to come on here a couple times and share those.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I want to ask you the same question too, because you really have the more interesting dynamic of being Amish your entire life. So I want to just brief story of your childhood into your adulthood, leaving the Amish, but we want to get really deep into it on one of our future episodes.
Absolutely. Yes. So, yes, I was born and raised into an Amish family. I was one of 9 siblings. I was the middle child. So that explains a lot, probably, right? They say the middle child. I don't know. It's not true anyway. But yeah, I was indeed the middle child. I met my husband at a little. What did we call them? We called them parochial schools. I'm not even sure what that is. It was little Amish schools.
Just a little Amish.
Yeah, a little Amish schoolhouse in the country. I met my husband when we were in the 5th grade. He says it was love at first sight. Also, I don't really remember at the time, but
ouch.
I do remember that.
One-sided.
I do remember by the time I graduated school, I was very much
that's 8th grade.
8th grade.
Okay, I was like
8th
12th
grade.
grade?
Yeah, 8th grade. I was like, yeah, he's my knight in shining armor. Anyway, we went on to get, and I am going to give the very brief version. We met in the 5th grade. We got baptized and married in the Amish church. Had 3 little boys, and then we both started feeling restless, like there's got to be more. And we went on a hunt for the whole truth. And long story short, it took us 10 years, but we journeyed out of the Amish culture. 10 years. I'm not kidding you. And on another episode, I will explain a little bit more why it took so long.
The 10 dark years.
There was a lot of darkness. Yes, there was. But there was also a lot of light, because there was always just enough light to keep us coming out. Always more light than darkness. So we kept journeying, and all of a sudden we realized it's 10 years. But so my childhood, though, was a pretty typical Amish childhood, where you just, at the moment you could walk, you had chores and responsibilities, and you pulled your weight. Washing dishes, milking cows by hand, and I have lots of memories of having my toes and my fingers were so cold in the winter, and then we'd walk to school with our little lunch boxes. But I loved my school years. Oh my goodness, my school years were my absolute favorite years of all my growing up. Mm-hmm. Just because I loved learning even then. Mm-hmm. I loved all the things about school.
Laura Ingalls Little House on the Prairie, and you remember the episodes where it's like her mom, mm-hmm. and it shows her mom's school years? That's how I picture you and Dad.
Probably was.
But
yeah.
It shows her and like Charles Ingalls meeting and love story. That's exactly how I picture you guys.
I bet. And she's always in her big old bonnet, and that was always me too. And
they go to school with their lunch pails and their little writing tablets.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it was a very carefree childhood, but my childhood had some dynamics that were not normal for Amish, and I'm not going to go into that tonight. But I think, like Luanne said, there's not too much that I would change. If it really came down to it, would we change it?
I didn't think so.
Because I feel still like it made us who we are. It taught, we learned a lot of good morals and values, and family. Family is a big deal in the Amish. It is. Like, you sit down together and eat 3 meals a day, and you, family's just a big deal. And that's one thing I'm so grateful that was passed, that, we brought out of that culture with us. We brought a lot of good things with us. And I just love that. I love that. And I tell my kids this, like, now, we get to choose what we want to keep from our Amish culture, and we get to choose what is not important to us and what we don't want to bring. And now you guys get to choose that for your families. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing when we get to choose instead of we have to do this. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if I really covered my childhood or not. Did I?
You did your childhood, not really into adulthood.
Yeah, into adulthood. Yes. So moved out of the strict Amish setting we were in when we had the 3 little boys, and moved to that church that Luanne was talking about. And we were out there for like 7 years, and that is where we largely became really a lot more free. Like, we started not wearing head coverings, and
I remember I got my first pair of tennis shoes.
Your pair of tennis, probably your first pair of jeans too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we totally made the dress switch.
I remember the first time you went to the hair salon.
Do you really?
You came home with a perm.
Oh gosh, that was. Oh, I didn't know what I did to myself, but
she said, "Freedom, I'm going to the salon."
And I had no idea what a perm is going to make me look like.
Yep.
And I think I think I was on to help lead worship at church the next day, and it was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? What have I done?
Cute.
But I did like it. Yeah, I did. I did really like it.
You had to experiment with all the things.
Yeah.
It could be way worse.
It could.
You just went to the hair salon.
Yeah.
And got a perm. That's okay.
And I think one of my friends talked me into Carolyn, if you're listening to this episode, that was you. You talked me into getting a perm for, I think it was it was for your birthday or for my birthday. I don't remember.
Carolyn, I think, helped culture us. She brought us a Wii. Like,
she did. She did.
I think she's a big reason why we turned out okay.
Yeah, she looked out for us. Carolyn, you were instrumental in our journey out of the Amish.
She was our homeschool teacher.
Yeah. So you'll always have a special place in our hearts, as well as a lot of other people who helped us along our journey. And we basically had to find people. We had to find new family, because at that point my family especially was almost completely shunning us. So yeah, a lot of painful times, but also a lot of good times, and just so grateful for there's a verse in the Bible that says the boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. And I love that verse, and it's one of my life verses, because I think it's so true. Like, and my encouragement is like, and I'm getting in way too deep for the first episode, but my encouragement is like, yeah, I do. My encouragement is, if you feel like you're in over your head today, you just have no idea what God is up to. He is up to something. Just embrace the journey, embrace the process, because He is leading you into greater freedom if you let Him. He's leading you into a beautiful place. The boundary lines can fall for you in pleasant places as well. And I'm sure they already have. Nice. Not everybody has the background that we do. Not everybody, but everybody has something. Everybody has something that they have to struggle through, because I always say, just like nature, just like the flowers, like they got a beating this week with all the rain and the wind. They look pretty sad right now. But I tell you what, next week they're going to be stronger and more amazing than ever. And we are no different than nature. We need sunshine and rain and an occasional storm to make our roots go deeper and stronger. So what's
very
your
inspiration
as we...
I need to have inspiration?
That's right off the top of your head.
I don't have any.
Or do you have anything to add on to that, maybe?
I said that's a good word.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That was my add-on.
Okay, good.
You're supposed to be the wisdom. I'm just the daughter.
You have a lot of wisdom for your age. You do.
I think you said it well. I don't have anything to add.
You have a lot of wisdom for your age.
I think you said it great.
I think one thing that could be really fun, Luanne, is ask the viewers to post in the comments, like, what are some of the things they would want us to talk about?
Yeah, episode ideas.
Yes, episode ideas, questions about the Amish. Like,
we are starting from literally episode 0.
Yes.
So we have a lot of
it.
Free space to
absolutely
work on.
First come, first serve.
Yeah. So
and yeah,
if we could do a question and answer. If people have certain questions, I'm sure you would have a lot of specific questions. I feel like people would ask you. But yeah, if there's any like specific topics that you guys want us to talk about, we can. If you want Mom to interview a certain person,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. The
everybody tag Ernest Schwartz.
Oh goodness! We'd probably have to take the equipment out in the shop to
literally,
him, right?
Chuck parts in the background. That would be funny. Stick a mic under there.
He would have a lot. He would have a lot of wisdom to share, but he doesn't do it easily. So yeah, we would have to dig it out.
Podcasting is kind of scary because it's maybe I'm just not confident enough. But I'm like, okay, if I say something, it's going to be out there forever. Or until I delete the episode.
No, until we delete it.
But it's just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
It's on camera and video.
It's a little bit intimidating.
What if I say something like...
Right. Well.
Because I feel like I'm always like growing and changing. But then I'm also like, I have to stick to my word.
Exactly.
I can't just feel like, oh, I said that last year, never mind.
Yeah. Well, and we are growing and changing, but I feel still like as Christians, we are Christians. There's no secret to that. There's fundamental laws that we live by that will never change.
That's true.
So, yeah, we might change our opinions and, we might change little things here and there, but who we are and our family values and morals and
that should come out if it's the truth anyway.
Right. Our core values will not change ever. So that's what we're that's one thing that we feel strongly as a family is you need to know what your core values are, and then you build your life around that. And if your children know as a family what your core values are, now they have this map, if you will, or these kind of like these guidelines. So yeah, that's very, very important to do that.
Okay, guys, we just got cut off because this is our first time doing this, and we did not know that our camera stops recording after 30 minutes. So we came back, sat down here, and did another outro. And then I went and I realized I didn't plug the mic cable in. So we're here for the third time, just trying to end it.
Yes.
Just trying to say goodbye.
Just trying to say goodnight.
It's
Yeah.
It's 8:30. It's time.
Trial and error.
Anyway, we just wanted to tell you guys goodbye. We talked for a little bit too long, but that's okay. This episode was supposed to just be a little intro anyway. But our next episode, we're going to go deep into some of Laurie's stories. I want to ask her some questions from you guys. So if you guys have any specific questions that you want to ask her about anything, about her life, about her book, do you want to talk about your book?
Yes, I will briefly talk about my book. I did write a book. It's called Joy in the Journey, 365 Whispers of Hope. You can find it on Amazon. In there, you will read a little bit about us coming out of the Amish, some of our daily life, current life, and a Bible verse that ties it all together with a little story. So
we'll post that in the show notes.
We will.
If anybody is interested, it's on Amazon.
Yeah. And yeah, like Luanne said, feel free in the comments even to ask questions. If you've always been curious about the Amish lifestyle, I love talking about my culture. I take no offense in questions about that. I've realized that a lot of people are curious and they feel like it's rude to ask, but I really don't think that at all. I think we all deserve to have our questions answered about different cultures, and we love to learn about different cultures. So
yeah, if you have any questions, this is the place to
yes,
ask
absolutely. Them. Or if there's future things, or if there's things you would want us to talk about in future episodes, we would also be open to that.
Absolutely. I'm sick of talking.
So until next time, we are going to sign off.
Yeah, we're signing off. Hopefully this all worked, and hopefully you can see us and hear us talking right now.
Yes. Good night.
All right.